Welcome back to the John Fourcade Show, and February is Ford Truck Month. 0% APR for 60 months plus $2,000 total cash back. Again, February is Ford Truck Month right here at Veterans Ford. 0 APR for 60 months plus $2,000 total cash back. Come on, man, come on down to Veterans Ford. We're back here on the John Fourcade Show. Mike Detillier along with John Fourcade. And John, last week a series of moves by the Saints to cut loose some cash, and we talked about it. I think it does put offensive guard, I think, real high on the wish list come free agency. And no matter what, from a dead money standpoint or whatever, now each team gets, over $250 million from the NFL for rights for TV. And and the salary cap was projected at 155. Man, listen, I didn't go to Harvard or Yale, but I can figure out, before one ticket is sold, you're making a lot of money if you own an NFL team today. But one of the things, I think the Saints will have enough money, they will adjust the cap and fool around with money. That offensive guard now, I think, becomes high priority for them in the first couple of days of free agency.
Well, that's the way to go right now. I mean, you talk about going through the draft. I think they have to go young on defense and get the younger guys to help the defensive when you're drafting this upcoming season. But you're right about one thing. They need help on the offensive line, especially the guard position. You must look at guys who can produce there at guard. And I think they got a couple of guys out there who can play guard and center. I'm finding out some guys are coming free right now. That if you want to go in a free agency, that's your main thing. Go for the offensive line. Go through free agency. I think you can get better quality guy than for you to go draft a young guy at a guard position or a tackle position or even a line. I think the best way to go about it on the offensive side of football, the free agency. The defensive side of football, go ahead and draft these young guys.
You look at how Denver, they go out and get Vasquez from the San Diego Chargers. Right. They pick up Evan Mathis, who was cut loose by Philadelphia. One guy to watch in this free agency class is Gerald Sweezy, who has started a couple seasons for Seattle at the offensive guard, former standout at North Carolina State. He was coached at Seattle with Tom Cable, and Tom is real close friends with Sean. And guess who played alongside Saints center Max Unger? J.R. Sweezy. So that's a guy to watch for in the free agency market. We're going to take a look at some of the dead money that the Saints have that they've got to deal with. And John, right off the bat, Junior Gillette, over $12 million of dead money right off the top. Jari Evans, over $5 million. David Hawthorne, $2.2 million. Broderick Bunkley, $1.6 million. And then the others kind of chimed in right a little under 1.3, which figures out to right at $22 million. And we're not even talking about Brandon Browner. And now some of his dead money may get split between next year and the following, but still, it just is a tsunami over the number 2 spot, which is Atlanta, which has right around $15 million, and every other team in the NFL, $10 million and under.
Well, it just goes to show you the past 3 or 4 years of negotiatings that they had. These one year wonders and these guys who hit it off and also, we're going to give you all this and all that, could have found out they can't play for you anymore, or they got off the field issues or whatever it may be. That's poor administration. It's got nothing to do with the player, because if the players out there, well as I do, they're going to get what they can get. You get what you can get. You can't fault the player once he gets here and he produces or he doesn't produce, and then you as a fan can say what you want. But from a standpoint of administration, what are they thinking in the front office, some of these players? Just because you play well 1 year doesn't mean you need to go out there and open up the wallets and give them all what you want, and that's what you come to now. Now you got dead money sitting here, and in the next few years, the Saints are going to be in some serious trouble. What they have to do now, Mike, and you see it already, they're lining up folks in the front office to talk to some of these players, they get some of these guys to
shuffle money around.
But what it does is they clear it up for now, but then they push it off for later. So
like
basically,
a credit card.
Right. So yeah, we talked about credit card problem before, but that's just what you talked about. You can't keep pushing it down the road. You got to nip it in the butt, get it over with now, so you can free up money to be able to produce with some better players.
Mickey Loomis went on Sirius satellite radio and said that he wants to do a long-term deal with Drew Brees, the extension, long-term, where they can also free up a little bit of money. One of the guys he didn't mention, he talked about a couple of young tight ends. One guy this team has to bring back is Ben Watson. I don't care if he's 36 years old or not. He can still play. If it's on a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal, he talked about, he saw tremendous talent in Josh Hill. You know, Josh is a nice guy and a really good special teams player. What did Josh Hill do last year on the football field as a receiver? No, Ben Watson became the guy here. You're going to have to pay Ben because you know what? If you don't, someone else will.
The problem I hate is when you got administration guys talking about a player who's got potential and this and that, you want to go and talk about it. Hey, let's be honest. Watson was your tight end. You know, he's the guy you pay, not the guy who's behind him who didn't even produce for you and didn't come through for you. If you're an administration guy, you got to back off. Let these coaches decide who's the players, who's not the player. I think the coaches are the ones you could tell you got to pay this guy. And right now, you got to bring Watson. Like you said, maybe it's a one-year deal. Give him his money. If he goes after 1 year, he goes, and you go after another tight end down the road. But you got to bring Watson back and give him some money. I'm not saying open the bank up and do what you get for Junior Gillette, but give him some money. You got to produce for you, and he's a great off-the-field ambassador for you.
You know, one of the things I talked to Jake Delhomme about Ben Watson. He was in Cleveland the same time Ben was. He made the comment as, man, listen, I was trying to get the ball to Ben for one reason. He got open. Hey, all these potential guys, yeah, they big and they fast and they strong, but he said, you know what? They don't get open on the field. As a former quarterback, you appreciate a guy that you know where he's going to be out on the field and he gets open.
You know, we had guys I played with, and you know, Hobie Brenner. I knew Hobie couldn't run out of his own shadow, but if I wanted to throw a ball that I could throw 10 yards and under in a situation I'm in need for, I know where Hobie's going to be. John Tice was the same way. They didn't take it down the field like NFL tight ends do these days, but they were around there where you knew when you had help, you needed help, you could find those guys, and you found them quick. And that's the thing about it. Talk to people about these players, and I tell you what, it's not just Watson. There's other guys at this ball club they need to keep, but then there's other guys at this ball club they need to show them the door.
You know, one of the things, too, is kind of the logjam at running back, and I think everybody wants to see what happens there. You paid a lot of money for Mark Ingram. Down the stretch, Tim Hightower was a guy that really came through for you. Kyrie Robinson was a good player. Then he gets hurt with a really bad leg injury. They bring back Cadet, and he was a perfect fit for this offense, and you have Marcus Murphy coming back. Of what kind of happens there, I've had a lot of people say, oh, bring back Chris Ivory. All I know is Chris Ivory's going to cash his check somewhere else for a lot of money. Now, if you didn't have Ingram under a major contract, that would certainly be under consideration. But right now, this football team with the running backs they had down the stretch is to bring that group back, because one of the things with Sean, he's always been running back by committee. And Cadet and Hightower were good fits on this football team.
That's what you do. You go in there, you got 4 guys there. And look, Mo's a situation where he can play special teams guy, return kicks for you. You keep him around. He's not your main ingredients as your running back. You know Spiller won't be here. I mean, if he is, I'll be shocked. But the other guys, you have those 4 guys, those names right there. You go into training camp, that's your 4 running backs. You go with those guys. If one goes down, at least you know what the other guys can do for you, because they've done it in the past for you. Go with those guys. They're healthy. You got your 4 running backs. You're set in stone. No need to go out and get, you know, has-beens, wannabes, guys on the run.
And guys, big money players.
They talked about bringing, you know, somebody, Roman Harper. Are you kidding me? No, Roman Harper. Bring him back. Oh, you kidding? I heard that out there. Roman Harper. Oh, my Lord.
Listen, we got enough safeties that can't cover. Roman was a good player up against the run, but in the coverage part of the game, which is now such a big part, Roman's deficient there. We're going to take a look at the NFL calendar of events that'll happen in the next few weeks and months. And the Scouting Combine starting next week, the 23rd through the 29th. A lot of that having to do with medical issues, John, because today I think you have a pretty good read on who can play and who can't. But it's the first chance you get to look at the medical files, and that is so important today. March 1st, the deadline to declare franchise tag, transition tag. One thing the Saints don't have to worry about. They don't have anybody that'll be franchised. And then you can see March 7th through the 9th. That's when you can have contact with the free agents. And then the league year begins at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. You have all the NFL regional combines, the NFL meetings, March 20th through the 23rd. It'll be interesting to see some of the things that have there. And the off-season workouts begin for the new coaches April 4th, and for the returning coaches April 18th, and then the NFL draft in Chicago again the 28th through the 30th. I think there, what will happen March 7th through the 9th? I think that is, everybody wants to see how the Saints can come down and their attraction to free agents. I think right off the bat, offensive guard, and if there's a defensive lineman or a linebacker that you think can fit this defense, you go after him fast.
But Mike, what you don't do is you don't jump the guns. It's just because you go when you say go after someone, especially on the defensive side of the ball, don't do it where you got to overload and get this guy or person that you want to bring in here so much money that it's beyond you know, beyond what you really want to pay someone. That's why I think you can go in a draft. Other than that, you know, be smart. They need to be smart. Just don't jump the gun because this guy comes available. We've done that in the past. We jumped the gun, slapped on, oh, this guy, name recognition. Don't go by the name. Go by what they've done on the field. I mean, no matter who it is, don't let somebody talk you into it. Get the right guy, get the right system, find out what you need here. If it's a linebacker, go after the linebacker. If it's an end, go after the end. Doesn't hurt to have somebody, but make sure the guy is productive. And let's get a young one. Let's not go with an older guy who's almost on his way out of here, who might have some injuries. And a few guys that came here lately in the last few years have come in here and haven't produced.
You know, one of the things, too, is the fact that we're going to find out a little bit about Dennis Allen's personnel decision process. We've known here with Sean, if it's been Gary Gibbs, if it's been Greg Williams, Steve Spagnuolo, Rob Ryan, those defensive coordinators have had a lot of say on veteran defensive players. So we're fixing to find out about Dennis Allen real fast on what type of talent evaluator he is. We'll be back with more of the John Fourcade Show, sponsored each week by Veterans Ford. We'll be right back.